Want to start with introductions?
Yeah, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Pietrik's going to be running a little late, so you get me. At this time, if I could have Randy kind of recognize some of our guests, I appreciate it.
Sure. Looks like we've got Aiden Fitzpatrick. He's one of our guests. Like, he's been kind of working with Catherine on mentorship. Andrew Marks here at EUG. Andy Vavor is on here. Chuck Mueller, he is our facilities maintenance manager for Harris of Work with Atlantic Aviation. Dan Durazo, our project finance manager. Dan Rodriguez, advisory. Dan Hollingshead, he is with the Murphy Group out here with our GA. And Liz Gallagher is here. Phil Rochon is now getting into the meeting. Patricia Haley here at Eugene Airport, our finance and administration supervisor. Sarah Pulse, our environmental. Chad Turner with Lawrence Air Service. Tina Goldberg, our advisory. And on the phone, we have Linda Ackerman and Bobby Green.
Great, thanks. At this time, I kick it over to Catherine and have her kind of go over the today's agenda.
Okay, very good. We are going to change up the agenda just a little bit today because Patricia needs to hop off for a conference that she's on, but we'll do the financial report, take a look at the activity report. I'll give you an update on some of our COVID recovery plan, especially around the financial support. We're going to have a presentation from Dan Durazo, our project manager. And then we'll have a discussion at the end about our schedule moving forward, just how we want to be meeting and times and dates and that kind of thing. So with that, I'll screen share and we'll jump into the financials. I think I got it right, Randy? Okay, very good. All right, take it away, Patricia. Are you on mute? Yes, you are.
Okay, that's my one time for today. Okay, so we have a little different view this time around. As you'll see, there's a transfer from 511 to capital. We were able to draw down enough CARES Act funds to be able to support our capital fund a little bit more. So we start out with our operating revenues being down 45% and down 39% compared to last year. Overall revenue down 45% and 39%. So you can see that $3.5 million transfer there. Personnel is down 10% and under 2% of last year. Materials and supplies are under 38% and 14% from last year's as we continue to hold down our spending. Capital, that's that John Deere tractor still sitting there. Central services clicks along at $112 per month. It's always on target. Overall, our operating expenses are 20% below our budgeted and up 2% from last year. Now there's two at the bottom here. You can see our revenues over operating expenses at a negative $3 million. That is 584% under last year, which is terrible. But then you can see the transfer takes off more and it goes to $6 million in the negative. But then we get the reimbursement from the CARES Act funds at $6.6 million, which puts us in an operating balance of a positive $130,000. That's great. We were able to make $3.5 million transfer and we're still in the positive. Thank you, CARES.
Yes, it's really saved us. Any questions about this financial report? And Patricia does have a few other slides to show us, but any questions on this?
So we put together some graphs to show you over time comparing fiscal year 19 with fiscal year 20 and 21. We start out with the revenue. The blue is fiscal year 19, and you can see it chugged along. We were looking very good in our revenue in 19. In 20, that's the orange, and you can look at April and see where COVID hit. Took a nosedive there, kind of struggled to get up a bit by June. And then in 21, it's kind of been an up and down show. We looked really good in December. December was a very good month. March was a good month too. April was pretty good too. So we're actually looking pretty good in 21, especially compared to 20, but not quite at those 19 levels for our revenue. Okay. Here's our expense. Our expense kind of chugs along, doing the wave every year. It kind of does the same thing. In September, we get ready for spending that has to cover the winter months. Not much to talk about there, just kind of chugs along.
I was on mute. There we go. That's my one time. I would note that staff has done a really, really good job of curtailing all spending that's not operational or security related, to the point where they've done such a good job that we actually are going to have to start spending money again soon. And Patricia can probably explain that, but we'll move on to the next slide here.
All right, this is the cumulative, this is our position throughout the year as it develops. The blue line is 19. You can see we were doing really well. We were showing a net gain just under 2 million by the end. In 20, we're going along, we're kind of mirroring 19, and then we drop off the cliff in April. April, May, June, we ended almost at a negative million. In 21, we have continued to kind of drop. Again, it's a cumulative look. So we're continuing to lose money every month. So it's continued its down road. But you can see towards the end, it's starting to level off there. So we actually are looking pretty good. Now, this is with CARES. So you can see where we were starting down, and then we started doing our draws in November, and we brought it back up, and we're doing a monthly now. So now we're actually above, and that is what allowed that 3.5 million to be transferred. So CARES Act has done wonderful things for us. So the CARES Act is going to enable us to be able to go back and spend a little bit more on maintenance and operations for things that are needed. So we're going to ask the supervisors to please run those projects by the management team to get approval prior to doing it. You know, we'll hold our expenses down, but we're going to identify certain projects that we will cover with CARES that need to get done.
That basically enables us to continue drawing down on our CARES funding, which then allows us to put money from the operation fund into the capital fund, because that's another important aspect, is we've got to continue funding the capital fund to make sure that our capital projects move forward.
Right. So I anticipate the last 2 months, May and June, we'll probably pull down about another million, and we'll probably be able to transfer that to the capital.
Great. Any questions on these slides or questions for Patricia before she signs off? You gotta unmute yourself if you're going to ask a question, because I'm not necessarily going to be able to see you.
I was just going to comment and say thank you for including the multi-year comparison. Super helpful to see. And just as we look to the future, it's nice to be able to see all that in one spot. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'll just continue to update this every month so we can see it.
Yeah, it's always good to have kind of that perspective over time.
Yeah, it really helps.
All right, thanks, Patricia. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll just give a quick update of where we are with all of that funding. So we're talking about our CARES Act funding, our CRISA funds, and then our ARPA funds. So, and then there was also that opportunity, I think we talked about last time, about the community funding projects or the earmarks in Congress. We did put forward a project. It's really hard to find a project at the airport that is less than $1 million. So we had to really dig around and look. So we put a $900,000 price tag on some apron lighting improvements that would have been great. But we did not get selected for that earmark, mainly because the thinking is that there is additional money coming. It was actually selected by the city of Eugene. It wasn't selected by Congressman DeFazio because he believes that there will be robust infrastructure funding coming in addition to our regular AIP entitlements. And so he thinks that that project would then get funded in that way. So fair enough, we would have loved to have taken care of that project now, but we'll have to wait a little longer to find out exactly what the infrastructure package is going to look like. In the meantime, the CRISA funds, which were very narrow to things that were specific to COVID-related expenses or projects, we know that we are approved for the preconditioned air units for all of the jet bridges. So that's a great project for environmental sustainability, and our airlines are also very pleased to be having that coming to them because it means they can get rid of all of their diesel generated units that provide the preconditioned air to the aircraft when it's sitting at the ramp. So huge savings for them, huge savings for us as far as greenhouse gas emissions. And then potable water units, also along the lines of clean water. So should qualify for CRISA funding. We're still waiting on approval for that. Also an economy parking lot crosswalk. We haven't opened our economy parking lot yet again, but we're gonna need to do it really soon. So we're moving forward with putting a crosswalk in. And again, instead of having a van going around and around and around all day long, spewing greenhouse gas emissions, there is an economy lot. So we'll be having people use their people power to get themselves over to the main lot. We're hoping to be able to apply CRISA funding for that as well, but it's definitely a need. So we've been fast tracking that project. And then we're really hoping that the Hearing Loop project completion can be funded through CRISA because masks and plexiglass and physical distancing makes it just about impossible for people with hearing impairment to hear in an airport. And the section of the Hearing Loop project that we were able to complete, which is at all of the ticket counters and the car rental counters, has been really, really well received. So we're hoping that we'll be getting approval on that as well. As far as the American Rescue Plan Act, we're still waiting to find out exactly how much we're going to be getting. We just don't know yet. I've been hearing that it's probably 70% of what we got from CARES Act funding, which would be great, but we just don't know. And we also don't know what strings come with it. I understand that there will be some pretty specific things that it can be spent on. Not so narrow as CRISA, but probably more likely about the CARES Act funding requirements of how we could spend that funding. And then things that we're still waiting to hear on, the transportation reauthorization bill, which is where we may see some infrastructure funding boost. And also the American Jobs Plan is another area where we may see some additional funding. So waiting on all of that, but all of the recovery funds we've been receiving, especially because we've not had to pay into debt service using those funds, we are financially, because we're recovering so well passenger wise, we're doing pretty well. So it's nice to be able to take a deep breath. Any questions about that? Okay, we will go on to the activity report.
All right, so our
Andrew.
numbers, whoop, did someone have a question or did I?
No, sorry. I was
Oh,
gonna
okay,
ask
sorry,
you.
I just heard noise. So April activity report. You can see our load factors, 53% up from our worst year, 2020 with a COVID year, and really only down 12% from 2019. So we're starting to see people flying again. And so it's really a good sign that people are starting to get out there. We've actually been kind of surprised. We were thinking after talking with our industry friends that April and May would be soft after spring break, but that has not been the case. The numbers have really stayed steady. And I think just last week, we were at 90% of 2019 levels last week. So much higher, much better. That we're really happy about it. And so we're glad to see people are out there flying. So it's hopeful for moving forward. As far as market shares, Alaska's still holding in there as the market leader. That we anticipate that change when United starts bringing back some of their maybe even some of their mainline and some of the more of their flights. But for right now, Alaska's in the lead, United in a close second, and then you've got the others all kind of in the teens. So yeah, you can see for 2021 Alaska, whereas normally United's our main market share leader. And then we've got our air cargo. So we're up from last year and just up in general from the year before. So you can see there the actual numbers looking good on our cargo front. And that's even with Alaska moving their air cargo operations into the ticket counters. I had actually kind of anticipated a drop just because of all the, they do a lot of like the mushrooms and some of the other kind of regular cargo items, but it doesn't really seem to have affected overall cargo levels. So that's a good thing. Yep, good. So overall operations, obviously we were up over last year. That's no surprise. But yeah, that number next to 2019 keeps getting smaller. So we're moving in the right direction. Across the board, same thing with landings. We're obviously up from last year. That number's getting smaller for 2019. And plane passengers, we're crawling back up. I hate to see 1,000, 1,300 or 1,300% up. That's a crazy number. But really the important one there is only 24% down from 2019. That's a heck of a lot better than where we were sitting right around this time last year, which was 95% down for the month. And total passengers is a similar picture there. So really all the numbers are trending in the direction showing us that people are returning to travel, and we're seeing that demand that's been pent up, and we actually anticipate that to continue and really to actually start moving above 2019 levels is our projections moving forward. Load factor.
Those slides out of order.
That's okay.
Any questions about the activity report? All right, things are looking up. Great, thanks, Andrew.
Yep.
Okay, so the big news last week, welcome Avelo Airlines. We celebrated along with Andy Vibora, and Meg Trendler from Traveling County came and welcomed the first plane load of folks that came in from Burbank, and it was actually pretty full. And so that was a great event on Wednesday, May 12th. You all know Eugene was one of 12 airports selected as the first Avelo Airlines the airline will be serving. So that's a great honor. Pictured here is Jim Lindy. He's the manager of people for Avelo, and he's also an Oregon Duck. He came wearing his Oregon Duck socks. So he said he put in dibs to make sure that he got to come on this inaugural flight and welcome all of the passengers and that were both outgoing and incoming. Avelo actually also announced East Coast service for a base in New Haven, Connecticut. So another 12 airports being served on the east side of the country, and that is anticipated to start the third quarter of this year. So if you think about that, that's pretty fast trajectory for this new airline to take off, but that's probably what's needed right now to get their foothold in the marketplace. Questions about the Avelo inaugural, anything like that? Okay. Here's the fun graph that we always like to show. So in the second week of May, TSA throughput was tracking at 95% of 2019 passenger numbers, which I think is just incredible. As Andrew was saying, we had been hearing from our airline partners that after spring break that April and May were going to be a bit soft, and then passenger traffic would pick up again in June. That's just not what we're seeing. However, I would say that, so compared to 2020 passenger numbers, it's an improvement of, 768%. That's great. Nationwide passenger traffic is trending at 70% of pre-pandemic levels. So we are really seeing a much faster and stronger recovery from the pandemic, which is really great. And that's why we're just kind of getting back to normal around here right away. Questions about this? Okay, so what it looks like moving forward, May is still about 4% down in departures and 7% down in seat capacity compared to 2019. So that tracks pretty accurately with that 95% passenger traffic that we're seeing right now. Not shabby, we'll take it. And then as far as departures and seat capacity for September, we turned the corner basically in June, and then September, these numbers will keep changing because I know they were slightly different percentages last time we talked about this last month, but the airlines will continue to make little adjustments along the way. So right now, we're still looking at 32% up in departures and 28% up in seat capacity as of September 1. And that's with all the new routes in the market. So Southwest coming in August 29th. And then we'll see in the forward-looking schedule, we're still seeing Chicago coming back in September and Portland coming back in September. So the airlines continue to keep those in the schedule. And I do think their intent is to bring those routes back, but they're just waiting for their right timing. Questions about the departures and seat capacity? You'll excuse the aircraft noise going over right now. I don't know if you all can hear it. Okay, well, I wanted to share this slide. I've subscribed to this kind of a aviation geek newsletter, for lack of a better term, through the Swellbar Zhang consultancy. Super smart people, and they really have helped us to be able to project how we were going to, what we're going to see throughout the pandemic and how we might come out of it. So their projections for our market specifically have been really accurate. And so I put a lot of, a lot of belief in what these very smart people at the Swellbar Zhang consultancy say. So this slide is very busy, but I included it just because you may want to go back and look at it after the fact when it gets sent to you after the meeting. And I've sent off an email to Bill Swellbar because I want to know, are we considered a tech-focused city or an emerging tech-focused city? I'm guessing we are, and that he just didn't call us out specifically in there. And I also don't know what 1, 2, 3, and 4 mean exactly, other than it's good. So I think 1 is like the very best of who's being winners, and then 4 is like still winners, but not maybe the ones with the most growth. As soon as I get a clarification on that, I'll let you know exactly what that means. But we are on the list. And number 4, whatever that happens to mean. But if you look at it, there's a bunch of Southwest markets in here. So Palm Springs, Colorado Springs, Bozeman, Fresno. So I think that's kind of where we're looking at is the Southwest effect there. And maybe Abello as well, since Medford's on the list. Okay. We will continue on, and Dan Durazo will be giving us a show and tell about the planning and development activities around the airport. Take it away, Dan.
Do I have control?
No, but I can forward your slides.
Okay, so planning and development in Eugene Airport. I got to say, this is a very hardworking and robust group. So with that, can you move to the next slide? Okay, planning and development life cycle. This is a process we go through to obviously do the planning in our construction. First step is to identify a project and prioritize it. The next is to put a budget together for the project. Before we get into the actual planning, project planning, which consists of plans and specifications so that we can get the work done. And of course, project execution is getting the work done. And then finally, we get to the project completion. Identifying and prioritizing a project. So we need to identify the need for the project initially, whether it be capacity or facility needs or maintenance. And then we determine the project's feasibility. Can we actually get this done? And then based on those two things, we prioritize the project against other projects on our CIP. Some of the tools we use to identify the need is our master plan. Our master plan shows, has recommendations for projects based on, for example, passenger enplanements. When we have so many passenger enplanements, we should start thinking about expansion of the terminal or gates. And then again, the other issue we have is facility demands. Does it need to be rehabbed, their facility? Do we need new mechanical in the terminal? Do we need to add another snow removal equipment bay? And then maintenance we do quite a bit of, especially on the asphalt. The asphalt has a useful life, and then when it reaches the end of that, we have to rehab a section of asphalt. And then we have sustainability projects that we have on the list. And like Catherine pointed out earlier, we're trying to get the ramp lighting complete this year and looking for funding for projects like that. So identifying a funding source. So the first part, our funding sources are typically come from Airport Improvement Program, the AIP funds, passenger facility charge, PFC funds, and local. That's our primary source of funding for projects. The step two is we estimate a project cost, and then we provide rough order magnitude costs based on previous projects. That's how we determine some of the feasibility. How much is it going to cost? Can we get it done in short order, or do we have to push it out? And then when we find creative cash flow management opportunities, what that means is we just move projects around on our CIP based on priority and funding and available funding. So the project planning. Task one is we define the scope. After we do get the project on our CIP and we're going to move forward with development, we define the project scope. How big is the project? What's the area of impact? And so forth. The next is to allocate the necessary resources. Are we going to need, what kind of, we're going to need structural engineers, environmental process, civil engineers, electrical engineers. Who are we going to need to get this project completed, or to get the project completed? And after that, we do a detailed project plan, which is just construction plans and specifications. Throughout the process, we do construction estimates so that we have a better idea of what the project is going to cost as we move forward. Initially, we do, like I said, rough order magnitude costs, but in this phase, we do more fine tuning on those costs so that we're better prepared for the expenditure. And then the last task is we just prepare the documents to bid. So project execution, execution begins with the bid process. We use the City of Eugene Purchasing Department and to advertise the projects. We typically advertise the projects in January. That's pretty early, but we secure our crews. We get out in front of the DOT jobs and the City of Eugene jobs, which really gives us a cheaper cost for the project. We require pre-bid walkthrough for all potential bidders so that they get on site, actually look at the area, kick the rocks, as we say, so that they can provide better bids. Bids are opened in February. We award the contracts in March. We usually in February, we go through a protest period, make sure everything's okay, and then we award the contract in March. And then once the contract is awarded, we start construction. Plan implementation, and I typically collaborate with the contractor and field engineers to manage the project. Work with them to identify key milestones and priorities and make sure that we're hitting those targets. And manage field changes and variances. There's always going to be some changes in the field because we can't guess every situation under the soil. So we try to manage those and keep those at a minimum. And project completion. So this is after the contractor is off-site, but there's still work to do. We have a punch list. Maybe, for example, maybe something didn't work right as it was installed. We typically have electrical issues after the contractor leaves. We have to call them back because something's not turning on, something that is not working correctly. So that's our punch list that we go through. And then I work with Patricia and on the final project budget. Where do we end up when it was all said and done? And then we have to submit a final construction report to the FAA if we're using AIP funding. So that takes quite a bit of time. And then we end up with final project deliverables, which is as-builts, warranty and maintenance information on the products. So this is our project that's happening this year. We're going to rehab 1/6 left, 3/4 right. We're going to relocate Bravo 2. We were talking about that earlier. It was identified as a hotspot. So we're going to move the taxiway north so that aircraft can make an informed decision and not travel straight from Charlie onto the runway. So this project is going to start July 7th and run for 100 consecutive days. I guess that's it. And the future Concourse C. This is a nice rendering of what we're looking at developing in the future, in the near future, hopefully.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Any questions for Dan? We keep Dan pretty busy around here. I know he mainly talked about our AIP project, like our big summer project. But Dan also does most of the other projects. And then Chuck Mueller's actually taken over doing some of the project work as well in the terminal building. So there's a lot of stuff going all at once. Sarah Poles is actually helping us get the car wash project going for this summer as well. So it's really a team effort, and there's a lot of process and procedure around it, and checking in, working with contractors and all of that. So it's always fun to build something new. Andy, do you have a question?
I was curious with the finances you talked about earlier, in terms of maybe some of the capital transfers, do any of these projects move up on the timeline?
Potentially, yes, because because needing to make, spend some more money basically. So we don't have a total handle on that yet. We know we need to start spending some money on things that we've really been postponing. It's possible under the ARPA funds and certainly under the future infrastructure package, we may be able to move up a lot of the enabling projects ahead of the C concourse, and that need to happen ahead of the C concourse. So that includes things like aligning the entryway road and adding that traffic circle, and moving the fuel farm and decommissioning the old one, moving the employee parking lot. There's a whole bunch of other ones. Oh, the beacon, right? Dan, I don't know what else I'm missing, but there's a whole series of projects that have to be done.
Yeah, we have a whole slew of smaller projects, like Catherine said, enabling projects to be able to expand the terminal. We also work with the FAA on a yearly basis on our CIP. We try to solidify at least the first 3 years in our CIP so that they can allocate funds for us, AIP funds, discretionary funds, if the project is needed. The 4th and 5th year are a little more fluid when we work with this FAA, because again, needs and demand change. So, but again, with the FAA, since they're providing AIP funding, we try to really have the first 3 years of that plan as solid as it can be.
Other questions? Okay, thank you so much, Dan. Okay, so final topic for today is talking about our meetings, how we want to have our meetings, in person or virtual. We've got an opportunity to have everyone come on in and do a tour of the airport, because we've got some new members and we've also got some new shiny things that we'd love to show off. And then I've got a couple of meeting conflicts coming up, and I know sometimes summer months are a challenge for folks anyway, trying to get vacations and things in. So first of all, I believe the mask mandate is going to be staying in place for at least into mid-September. I don't think that, at least in the terminal building, that is going to change, or even inside buildings, that's going to change for airports. It might change for outside, for workers working outside, but we don't know that yet either. So if we were to decide we wanted to meet in person, it would be a mask on meeting. And I know that doesn't really work for some folks with hearing and all of that. So if we want to stay virtual until we're truly back to normal, that's fine. It's really kind of up to you guys. And then June 16th is our next meeting. And do you want to have an airport tour at that time? We could just do a tour instead of a formal meeting. We can do both. I could send you the regular reports that you get, but then we could just do the tour part as the actual meeting. So kind of up to you guys what you want to do.
Yeah, I think reports and a tour would be great for that meeting, Catherine, personally.
I agree with Phil.
I will not be able to attend that day. I think the in-person high school graduations are slated for that Wednesday.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
But I am happy to schedule a tour at a different time, because I definitely want to do that. So I'm fine either way, but just want to share that.
Are those being held during the day, Liz?
No, I don't know. I have a senior, so I need the day.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure on the time. It might be late. They might start late afternoon. So that's probably true. It shouldn't be a problem for noon, but I know I'm going to need the day.
Sure, of course. Well, and you can always come out and do a tour another time as well.
Which I'm fine doing.
Okay. And thoughts on, here, I'm going to unshare my screen so we can all see each other. Thoughts on the other meetings remaining virtual, trying to meet in person with masks on? What's your preference? No strong opinions. Well, and then the other thing I was thinking of is we could move to kind of more of a hybrid model. So we could do, like quarterly in-person meetings with, the other meetings being virtual, because that may be convenient for people actually, instead of coming all the way out to the airport. So we could do like June airport tour, and then July, August, we would either need to change the dates or skip a meeting. You still get the usual reports that you receive that Randy sends out to you. So I don't know what your preference on that is. I know typically August has been a real challenge to get everybody at the meeting. And I do have a conflict for the July 21st meeting. I'll actually be back in Woods Hole. Let's see, where is Woods Hole? It's in Massachusetts. Yeah, Massachusetts, for an ACRP oversight committee meeting. So
I don't care.
I know in July I'll be in Lake Tahoe.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, and I guarantee you I won't go on Zoom. I'm hoping to be on a golf course somewhere. Sort of a bet.
So I don't really want to skip 2 meetings. So we could just reschedule the July meeting and then skip the August meeting, but you'd still get the reports.
Yeah, it'd be okay, I think. What do you want to keep it on a Wednesday, Catherine, or just move it to Tuesday, or what's your preference there?
Well, I know last time I had to move it, I moved it to Thursday and then Andy had a conflict. So we would probably, I know I have back-to-back meetings in July, so we'd probably have to move it to a different day of the week, but maybe we'd move it to Tuesday instead to avoid that conflict with traveling counties board meeting.
Tuesday would be fine with me, yeah.
Okay.
Are you, what day in July were you thinking? The 22nd?
Yeah, let me.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's our board meeting, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
So if we moved it to,
The 20th,
well, so that whole week is problematic for me. Is the thing.
no, we could do it the week before, maybe the Wednesday of, what's that, then about the 14th or something. I don't know.
14th. Also, a day I have another board meeting. How about,
It's popular, Catherine.
I know.
Well, you know, we could, what if we tank the July meeting and have the August, because, we'll have seen a lot more changes maybe by August. What if we move the August day?
Yeah, I can do that. Let's see. I haven't totally looked into this yet, but probably if we moved it up a week. So if we skip the July meeting and then move it to August 11th for the August meeting.
Yeah, that'd be fine with me at least.
Yep, good for
Works
the
for me.
day.
Good as any.
Good as any. And then
Okay.
Can we have the infamous barbecue, hot dogs and hamburgers? I really enjoy that meeting. I'm sorry.
And you're right. We usually do hold that in August. So, and because, we're under stricter regulations than
Right,
the
yeah.
general,
No,
people that
I-
are not on airport property. We'll figure it out. We, we got creative last year. Last year we didn't really do that. It was pretty challenging, but we did hold a staff one that involved a food truck, which was a total hoot. So maybe we'll do something creative like that.
but don't worry, Catherine. It was just one of those fun annual meetings that's kind of
Yes.
nice to get there and see some of the people that work there, and especially the TSA people. When I was traveling, were still coming to the picnic that I knew, so it was fun. So
Absolutely. Yeah. If we can find a way to make it work. And then maybe, who knows, maybe by then, by August, we'll have some relaxed outdoor, like maybe we won't have to wear masks outdoors. So, yeah.
never know.
All right. Well, I will toss it back to you, Mark, for the remaining agenda items. Open discussion, questions, comments, open to the floor.
Thanks, Catherine. Okay. Any questions on any of the matters? We have anybody here today?
I did notice one thing, Catherine, since we flew out last week, up in the terminal, and this would be, I guess, Dan and Andrew as well. Some of the seats, although we find they look really good, but they are getting kind of, the color is going off in front of some of those. Now, there are people out there that, believe it or not, paint vinyl, because like car dealerships use that when they spiff cars up for sale, and that stuff stays on there. So I was wondering if we might look at doing on the front edge of those chairs where they show wear. We certainly don't want to get back to where we were before with threadbare stuff in the terminal, which really looked awful. And these are not bad yet, but it might be something to explore. But it's a fairly cheap fix, I think.
I don't know if Chuck has looked into that solution or not. Yeah, we're aware that some of the Arconis, the it's kind of cracking a little and getting a little faded. And so we can look into that, or we can look into replacing just the seating part, not the back.
Yeah, I just was amazed. I had a vehicle that they did that with some leather seats, and I mean, they really look like new, and they still look pretty good. So, yeah, I don't know. They match the colors perfectly. So, anyway,
Yeah, it's
just a
definitely
thought.
something to look into. Chuck, are you on? Can you tell us?
Yeah, I haven't looked into that. We do have slip covers for those ordered to get those replaced. We just replaced a number of them a couple months back, so got some more to do.
Okay.
Catherine?
Are you ready?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know when you were talking about the September numbers, I have a prior ticket that I didn't use last year for Hawaii that I'm have to purchase the ticket soon. And I was looking at my options, and one of my options to get to where I was thinking about going was to go through Portland on Verizon. So it is showing up in September on the flight schedules.
Yeah. It's definitely in there. They just keep moving the ball.
Okay, any other questions from any of the other members or guests?
What's the Mac Cork picture behind you there, Mr. Strings?
You come down and visit me. Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. I'll tell you what, man, I thought you might have been refereeing a state final in there or something.
No, that's the big boys there.
Okay.
Anybody else? Catherine, you have anything?
Nope, I think I'm good. It's nice to see everybody, and we'll get that tour all set up for the meeting.
Okay, well, this time we'll just break for adjournment, and thanks for everyone.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Good to see you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Catherine. Thanks, Randy.
Thank you.